That's like Ben's signature now is the windmill.
Yep.
We're not going to know what to do if there's a show without the windmill.
People of Planet Internet, that's my nephew and Ben's camera. I am Paris Voltage, joined here by
Fran?
Leo and Ben.
Welcome back to Life Unfiltered. We are your hosts, and this is the Windmill Podcast.
All right, guys. So this episode is called Shadows of Violence. So, not a wonderful topic, but a topic I think that everyone needs to know because I don't think anybody realizes how much this is a problem. It's not blasted in the media like it should be in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder because that was pretty much a hate crime. You know, he was killed because people don't like what he had to say or don't agree with him.
He was killed for having an opinion.
Exactly. And whether you like it or not, that is still not a reason for violence in any shape or form. And tonight's is about the LGBTQ community. There's so much violence that goes on there and hate crimes. It's crazy.
Insane.
It's wild. There are over 600 reports of murdered trans and gay people every year in this country. That is an insane amount of people. Just because someone doesn't agree with their lifestyle or, you know, what they identify as, you know, that's none of our business.
And you rarely hear about these cases either.
Very rarely. There are some that were pretty famous, but only a few of those. I mean, if you can actually name how many we've seen in the media, it's very few.
The biggest one that I remember, and this was when I was still in school, was Matthew Shepard.
So he is one of our topic tonight, one of the cases, and I'll go ahead and, we'll go ahead and do his, being that you brought that up. All of them to me are sad. They all are. It's terrible. It's horrible for someone to be murdered just because of who they are or what they believe. Any kind of violence, whether even if they're not murdered and they're just jumped and beat up or whatever, any kind of hate, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd to me. And what makes it worse to me, and people are probably going to get real mad when I say this, what I don't like is when the media will talk so much about crimes that happen because of race, but you don't hear anything
about identity,
about crimes that happen because of gender identity or being gay or whatever. There's no difference. There's no difference. They're both hate crimes. So there should be an awareness on hate crimes in general. But again, a lot of the media sources don't agree with the way that, trans people live or gay people, whatever. And so they're not going to report on it. And that's another sad part of what's going on. It's terrible. And all of them are terrible cases, but Matthews hit me really bad.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Because this image has been drilled in my head since his case happened. But when he was found tied to that fence post, his face was covered in blood, and the only parts that did not have blood on his face was right here, where he had cried and washed the trails away from his tears on his face.
I remember that.
Yes, that just, I mean, that makes me want to cry. That's terrible.
Hmm.
That's one of the saddest parts of the whole thing. But his mother has went to great lengths to change laws and
Yeah, they call it Matthew Shepard law. They call it that.
yeah, for hate crimes, because even all of the cases we're going to talk about, some of them way before Matthew Shepard, there still was not good laws for hate crimes.
Hmm.
There wasn't, and another part of it that hit me was that his mom was a very Christian woman. And she didn't accept him being gay either, until his death. And then it was like, she woke up. Oh my God, what did I do? I didn't enjoy my child for who he was when he was here.
Hmm.
It's it's very, I don't know. It's so sad to me that I can't fathom.
It's
And
heartbreaking.
yeah, it's
I,
just
it's one of those things that boggle my mind. And I'm not a parent, but I've always wanted to be one. Working with children as often as I have, being a member of the LGBTQ community, that I don't understand how you could bring a child into this world and not accept them for who they are.
right.
It
Right.
just
I've never understood that either. I've
it,
never, because my kids are my kids regardless. I'm going to love them no matter what. And if they're happy, I'm happy.
mhm. Agreed.
Anything else to do with it, anything else to do with it, whether it's right or wrong or I don't agree with it or whatever, that's between them and God. That's not between me and them.
Mhm.
We are not parents to tell you how to live your life. We're here to help you get to the point where you can live your life and make your own decisions and be who you want to be. And we're supposed to love you through it, regardless.
Is there a saying, if you love them, give them wings?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was, it's terrible. All of these cases are so horrendous. I don't know. I can't imagine. And I can't imagine losing my child in such a horrific way.
Knowing what their last moments were.
Right. And for that to be one of the facts in this case, that, the only part that wasn't covered with blood was the part where he was crying. And I couldn't imagine as a parent knowing that is how my child went. There has to be so much more. And what kills me is these people who are violent like this or terrible towards anyone, really, if you turn the tables, how would they feel?
Terrified.
Like, flip the script for a minute. What if this was your child, your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother,
Or if they were in that situation
or
themselves.
if it was you, you know, how would you feel? Why do you think it's okay to go out and treat someone like that?
Just because they're different.
And right, and that's not something that you would want to be treated like, ever. That's what I don't like the double standards.
Mhm.
I don't at all.
It's words that I live by. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Right. It's bad. It really is. It's terrible. And one of these cases really struck me too. The Handcuff Man. Have y'all heard of the Handcuff Man?
No.
No.
Well, see here again. Um, so I wrote a piece on this. So for decades, bartenders, hustlers, and gay club goers in Atlanta, an area where gay sex trade in their Ponce de Leon corridor. I'm sure. I don't know if everybody's heard of it. Probably Paris hasn't, but Ben know what I'm talking about. It's an area where the gay sex trade was really common in Atlanta back then. There were rumors about a mysterious man who mutilated and murdered young gay and bisexual men. At first, this was talked about as if it was a urban legend. Okay, so people were just kind of throwing it under the rug, kind of pushing it away, oh, it's just a legend. This ain't really happening. Well, for years, many swore that the man would offer men $50 to drink a pint of vodka, sometimes telling them he was studying the effects of alcohol to get them lured in. The next thing the victim would know, assuming that he lived through this, was that he had been dumped in a deserted area, handcuffed, and his genitals had been set on fire. Yes. Now, these attacks began in 1968. Okay. So, yeah. For 2 decades.
Holy crap.
2 decades, this man done this. Okay. One of the victims was in May of 1991, was a 21-year-old named Michael Jordan. Funny, but funny but not funny.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was offered this $50 to go to Jordan's car and masturbate. Then he was made to drink drug-laced vodka. He did not regain consciousness until the next day. So some of the details are blurry for him because thank God, obviously, someone found him. And when he woke up the next day, he was in the hospital. He was in Grady Memorial Hospital. He stayed there. He was in the hospital for almost a month to undergo treatments of severe burns to his thighs, his groin, and his butt. However, a local bartender, though, told the police that he had warned Jordan that night to stay away from that guy, that particular man, because they knew exactly who the handcuffed man was. But no one come forward to tell the police this in 2 decades. They let this continue for 2 decades. That in itself is terrible. People know that this is happening and nobody's going to stand up and say anything. Nothing. So the surprising thing to me was who it was. The handcuffed man ended up being one of Atlanta's wealthiest, well-known attorneys.
Oh my God.
Robert Lee Bennett. It blows my mind. So numerous victims that did survive this were taking pictures of Bennett and showed, and of course they all identified him as he was their attacker. They were afraid themselves to come forward because of who he was. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, he was a well-known, wealthy, prominent person within this community. So they were scared too. They finally were able to charge him with Jordan's attack, and then another man, Gary Clapp, who was a Tampa Bay, Florida man who had been attacked while he was in Atlanta on a visit. He had been burned so severely that they had to amputate both his legs.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, yeah. I mean, just the grotesqueness of what this man was doing is crazy. So later on, so anyway, he was sentenced to he was sentenced to 2 counts of aggravated assault, because of Jordan and Clapp. They think there were many more men, of course, that did not survive over this 2 decades time, but he was convicted of those. He served a 17-year. He was put in jail to serve a 17-year sentence. 17 years. That's all he gets.
Of course,
For
that's all
two
I get.
for 2 decades of terror.
Yeah. Of course,
You
that's
know,
all they get. It's just gay guys.
it's sad. So, but there were some fellow prison mates who said that he had confessed to them that he was actually gay, but he was trying to internalize what was going on with himself. So he was taking it out on others because he was trying to be a homophobic, hoping that he wouldn't be gay anymore.
Yeah, that don't work.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's terrible. But he died in prison on April Fool's Day in 1998.
Fooled you.
April Fool's Day. I was like, isn't that some karma?
Yeah.
Another one that her mom done a whole lot too to change some laws, but was Gwen Erigio. I don't know if I'm saying her name right or not. That's one big one that I do remember. I don't know if you guys know about her or not. So she was 17 years old.
Oh, jeez.
She was transgender. She lived in a small Northern California community. She wanted to be a Hollywood makeup artist. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to, go to college and learn makeup for movies and stuff. So on October 3rd, 2002, she went to a party. And this was the first time, like, people knew she was transgender, but, like, she didn't really wear, like, she wore jeans and crop tops, but she had never stepped out in, like, mini skirts or dresses or anything like that. So this was the first time that she had done that. But she wore her mini skirt to this party, and she never came home. A couple of the guys had come up and said that they had actually slept with her before this party, and they didn't know she was going to show up at this party. Apparently she showed up at this party, and then they didn't realize when they had slept with her that she was actually a boy, because she would only allow them to do anal stuff and all that. She wouldn't let them. That's my face too. Exactly, Ben. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
You don't
really?
notice the nest and the eggs and the snake. I mean, like, you don't notice that those naughty bits. Like, how do you?
Right. Right. That's my thoughts too.
I
I just
mean,
couldn't believe that part. But um anyway, one of the other guys there's girlfriend decided to tell everyone at this party because she hadn't told anybody, you know. So most of school didn't know that she was actually male. So this girl decides to tell everybody at the party. And so these four men, they were men compared to her. She was 17, but uh, three of them were 22 and the other one was 19. So they
she
beat
was a
her,
minor. They were adults.
right? They beat her pretty much to death. They beat her to death, slashed her face, just slashed her face all up. They beat her head in with a shovel and a frying pan, strangled her, hog-tied her, wrapped her in a sheet, and they drove her 100 miles away and dumped her body in the Sierra foothills. Her mom didn't know where she was for days. None of the party goers there reported the crime. They tried covering it up. No one there helped at all. Everybody stood around and watched these four men brutalize this young lady. And I remember her so clearly because I remember seeing a picture of her and I thought to myself, and no offense to guys or nothing, but I thought to myself, she's too beautiful to be a guy. Like the picture that they showed of her in the media, that her mom, that was the only picture her mom wanted them to show. She had done her makeup, her hair, you know, I mean,
Some guys just have the bone structure.
right,
You know?
yeah. But she was beautiful. And I remember her so plainly because I remember her mom being on the news begging for people to help her find her, you know, and it was just heartbreaking to see this mom begging for anybody to come forward with anything, you know. And it went on like this for days and days and days. Um,
It's not right.
but one of the guys, the 19-year-old, he confessed because he said he was traumatized by what he had done and he was traumatized by what had happened. And that's all he could see when he closed his eyes was what they'd done.
Good.
So he confessed and then he led the police out to where they dumped her, so that she could come home to her mom and be buried in peace, you know. And, but her mom was the same. Her mom went through a bunch of courts and laws to get California and Texas uh, to, you know, redo their hate crime laws because hers, they wouldn't, they were convicted of second degree murder, but they would not convict them of a hate crime. And so, yeah, her and the one
WTF?
who, and here's another thing, the one who confessed and told the police and turned everybody in, he got off because he pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in exchange for testimony on the other killers. So he only got 11-year prison sentence. But even the other ones didn't get very much. His and one of the other guys was the highest ones, and it was 11 years and 6 years. 6 years. Are you serious? Because this wasn't like, oh, I just hit her on the head by accident and she died. This was, they slashed her face up as some sort of symbolic, you're not a girl kind of thing, and slashed her face all to pieces. Right. And, beat her head in with a shovel and a frying pan. Like this wasn't I didn't mean to.
There was
Yeah. Like this was, it was so bad. And then come to find out a few years after the trial and they'd been sentenced, one come out and said that they had also sexually assaulted her in front of everyone that was at the party as a way to humiliate her. And I'm like, how do they not consider any of this? How did they not consider any of this hate crime? Because it's like it's known that it was because she was transgender.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
Well, one of them's defense come up with a transgender panic defense.
What?
Huh?
That's what they called it. Transgender panic defense, where he realized that she was transgender and he panicked. And I'm like, what? What the hell? Are you kidding me?
What the hell? What the
Yeah.
heliante? What the helly?
But I've always loved Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. I know some people don't. They think he's a little weird, but I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay.
Okay, correlate, because
I'm going to.
Okay.
No, it's not random. So in 2006, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California.
Right.
Okay, well, he signed into law September 28th, 2006, the Gwen Artillero Justice for Victims Act. That was the nation's first bill to address the use of panic strategies, meaning that defendants cannot use societal basis against their victim in order to decrease their own culpability for a crime.
Huh.
He pretty much said you can't use that as an excuse. You're going to take full accountability for what you do.
Yep.
And, he was one of the first governors in the United States to stand up for transgender and gay rights as far as hate crimes.
He's a Republican too. It's not like Republicans do things like that. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Right.
But I respect him for that. That's why I never had an issue with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
He has a very handsome son.
He was married to a Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maria
for
Shriver.
many years. Yeah, they were married for a long, long time. But her mom went to court to have her name legally changed because she had asked for that to happen before she died. She'd been discussing with her mom that she wanted her name legally changed. And they hadn't had the time to do that. And so her mom fought with the court system for 3 years after her death to get her name legally changed. And she was the first one to ever win a case where they could change the name after the person was already deceased.
Wow.
Because she wanted that's the name that she wanted her recognized as. and that's the name that she wanted put on her headstone.
That was her real
And
identity. I understand that.
yeah, and she said, I want her recognized for who she really was, and so she was able to get her name changed and all. And her mom worked for a lot of years with Matthew Shepard's mom as far as getting laws changed in other states too. So, it was that one really got me. That was the most memorable for me, was Gwen's story. And they have movies and books. I really encourage anybody to look up, if you want to know the full extent of a hate crime. I mean, they're all terrible, but that was one of the worst ones that I've seen, was hers and what they did to her. And there's a movie made about this and the story, and it is, when I tell you I cried throughout the whole movie. I cried. Like, I was bawling my eyes out. And I don't do that a whole lot with movies, but that one, it was just, and I will warn people though, it's a bit graphic when it comes to the murder scene, where they're traumatizing her, and it's a bit, so don't take lightly going into watching this movie, because it'll be
Matthew Shepard's story, because it's heart-wrenching.
right.
There are
Yeah.
documentaries about him too.
Yep. I mean, yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But I don't know. It's an awareness that I don't think people have, or people. Not necessarily that I don't think they have it. I think that they know what's going on. They're just blind to it.
Or they
They
just
put
want
a
to be a
blinder.
bystander.
Yeah, they're
Oh, speaking
afraid.
of that. Speaking of that, let me get down here in my notes, because there is one that term actually came from, was from this particular case.
Oh.
Yes. Let me get down here, because there's a few. There's a few. I don't know if we'll get through all of them or not, but these are ones that are actually really huge cases, but because of what they were about, the media didn't really give them any
Recognition.
airtime or recognition. So a lot of people don't know these cases. But this case it was actually, this is where the term the bystander effect come from. And of course, for people who don't know what the bystander effect is, it's in which people who are present at a crime, the less likely people are to help the victim of the crime. The more people that are there, less likely anyone's going to help. And so that's where the bystander effect comes in. You're just watching it happen without helping. But
yeah, there's a modern day effect of that, and it's basically the people who don't do anything. They're just like this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, the actual psychological medical name for this bystander effect is called the Genovese syndrome, and which Ben will at some point be studying. You'll see. The reason it's called the Genovese syndrome is because it came from the brutal 1964. Y'all, this is how long this has been happening. 1964 murder of a young New York lesbian named Kitty Genovese. So the Genovese syndrome and the bystander effect, essentially it came from her murder. So when 28-year-old Kitty Kitty Genovese got off work at Eve's 11th hour bar. It was already 3 a.m. She drove straight home to the apartment she shared with her partner, Marianne Zalonki. I don't even know if I'm saying that right or not. If I'm not, forgive me.
Zelensky?
Zielonko. Zalonki.
Salonki.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah. So
Scandinavian.
anyway, they lived in Queens. So she was headed towards her apartment door when a man named Winston Mosley approached her. She was afraid. The slight young woman, she tried to run off, but Mosley caught up with her and stabbed her from behind twice. Genevieve started screaming and shouting, "Oh my God, he stabbed me. Please help me." What happened next has been the subject of much debate. Numerous newspaper reports and psychological studies said that her cries were heard by several neighbors, and one of them was Robert Moser, and he yelled. He was the only one who tried to stand up and help her. When he heard, he come running outside and he yelled to Mosley, "Let that girl go." But Mosley just kept on stabbing. All of the other neighbors started running out and they just stood there and watched. Nobody would help. He was the only one that was trying to yell and, but he wouldn't go up and try to attack the attacker. He was just yelling at him. But he was the only one that seemed to be even trying to help. Everyone else just sat there and watched it. Then, after the attack is done and he runs away, it was nearly 30 minutes before anyone called the police to come help. Well, by then it was too late. It was too late for anybody. So there's another account that she had tried to wander it off, but because she was left there during this 30-minute time, that once everybody started retreating to their apartments, that he come back and raped her and stabbed her more.
So which is true?
I don't know. That's where the debate comes in. They're not sure, but they do know that it was, over 30 minutes of this attack before anyone called the law or done anything about it.
So wrong.
Yeah. So, one lady, Greta Schwartz, said that she could hear Kitty saying, "I'm dying, please stop." I'm just like, So in police reports, they discovered that 38 people had heard and seen this attack, but only one, and that was Greta Schwartz, who claimed that she heard her hollering, "I'm dying, please stop," was the only one who called the police. But 38 people, when the police spoke to them, told them they heard it all happen, and half of them watched. And nobody stepped in to help this lady. Nobody. It's
It just goes back to what I said before: treat others the way you want to be treated.
right. So when they did arrest Mosley, he admitted that he set out to kill her because he wanted to kill a woman that was in love with other women. And then he admitted to 2 other women that he had done the same exact thing to. So he was initially found guilty and sentenced to life, but that was overturned, and then he was just given a life sentence. And so far, he's been denied parole 15 times.
So he's still alive and in jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they'll keep him there because they won't approve his parole, which they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. His death penalty should have stood.
Yeah.
You know, Desiree asked an interesting question of now can't we be charged with not stepping in to help people? And you can be, but they typically don't. In
It's
most of those cases, the only ones that I have seen that have ever gotten charged with not rendering aid, and that's what they call it, that's what the law is called, not rendering aid, is a police officer or an EMT or whatever that sees something happen and they don't step in to help, or they don't render aid to someone dying.
It's a slippery slope because you need to prove it. So because it's like it's the what is it called, the Good Samaritan law.
Yep.
Right.
So it's like if seeing somebody in a car accident, you're supposed to stop and help them. Right. But a lot of people, they don't. But how are you going to prove? How are you going to prove that? So it's.
Yep. It's a very hard thing to get convicted of or get charged with. Yeah. And then, do you remember the controversy that happened with the Jenny Jones?
Oh God, yeah. Where they invited I remember watching that episode.
Wait, what happened?
Yep. So Jenny Jones, it was a show that was aired on March 6, 1995. Scott Amador came on the show to confess that his secret crush was Jonathan Schmitz, whatever, a man he knew from former home when he lived in Michigan. So he had assumed a secret admirer. Schmidt had assumed the guy that he liked okay, let me say this better. Scott had a crush on this man, Jonathan Schmitz. Okay. Scott was sending him letters, gifts, flowers, all these kind of stuff as a secret admirer. Okay. Well, Schmidt thought that it was a woman. So when Jenny Jones asked him to come on the show to meet his secret admirer, he thought he was coming on to meet a woman, and it wasn't. It ended up being Scott Abjure, Well, 3 days later, he drove to Abjure's home and he shot him to death.
Mm-hmm.
He did call 911 and confess it, like he didn't run from it, but he drove over there and shot him to death. Mm-hmm. So, again, here was the defense of gay panic rage. That was his defense, gay panic rage. But many pointed the blame at Jenny Jones and her producers. So in 1991, Abjure's family won a $25 million judgment against the Jenny Jones show, as well as Warner Brothers and Telepictures, which produced and distributed the show, for negligence in creating an atmosphere that led to his murder. And honestly, I think that's what done her show in.
Oh, yeah. because it wasn't too long after that there wasn't a Jenny Jones show anymore.
Right. It took that took her show down, really. And but many were kind of really upset about that because they're like, why, why blame her and her producers and stuff for this, but the families, both families, Schmidt's family and Amdour's family, blamed her because they said, they should have been told the truth before he ever walked on the show, so that if he didn't feel comfortable being on the show or being called out like that, then it never would have happened.
Right. Because I mean, I get that,
yeah,
and they should have done that because, especially in the '90s, growing up gay in the '90s,
right.
It was not cool. You know what I mean? And to be called out like that, and he probably had to deal with ridicule.
Oh, I'm sure.
But still, he should never have.
Why? No.
The gay panic is no excuse.
Ever. No. He was found guilty of second-degree murder in '96. The conviction was overturned, but he was tried for a second time, and he was found guilty again. So in 1999, he was sentenced to 50 years.
Good.
But yeah, I mean that it took her show down, and the family got a huge amount of money. A huge amount of money.
I like Jenny Jones.
I did too. I thought that was
and Jenny Jones.
I mean, I do agree that, yes, he should have been told what was going on before he walked on the show. That kind of was not, be like some Jerry Springer bullshit, but
yeah,
love that show too. It's my
although, as far as I know, nobody on the Jerry Springer show ever murdered each other either. But
most of it's fake.
Oh yeah, well, of course we know it is, but yeah, that it just there's many, many more. Like I said, I don't know that we'll be able to.
Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, because there's a couple that also, they were found dead in their case is called their Oregon Trail.
Ugh.
But it is very sad. You're right. It is a very sad one. But it was a couple, a lesbian couple that both were murdered, and yeah, it's.
So if you guys want us to continue with these stories of LGBTQ plus true crime, let us know, because obviously there's a lot to talk about, and a lot of these cases they fall by the wayside, so a lot of people don't even know that they exist. So we'll be more than happy to talk about it, seeing that we have an ally, and we have 2 members of the LGBTQ trans. Yeah, Paris is transgender, then I'm gay. So
and there's another case that if they want to see another show of it, I'd like to cover, because it's actually the man who killed Giovanni Versace.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh, I mean, did you guys see that? That was so well done.
I mean, yeah, but they leave out that he was on a killing spree of gay men.
Yeah, he was.
Gianni Versace was not the first man that he killed.
No, he was not.
He was, he was the last one before he got caught, but he was not the only one. And his whole case is just wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just crazy. But he's termed the handsomest serial killer ever. And I will say, the man was handsome.
Darren Criss played him. Darren is incredibly good looking.
The real pictures of him, he was handsome. I mean, and I'm all to say, Ted Bundy probably would have killed me if, I was old enough back then and pulled up, I mean, I'd have jumped right up in that car if I was a gay man. I'd have been like, whoop,
Oh my
honey.
gosh.
I'd have been done for, but Jeffrey Dahmer, yeah, but Ted Bundy too, man. I'd have been probably one of the first victims.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I know he killed females. Yeah, I mean,
where have we gone? We have gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
It's devolved, but in the best way possible.
I mean, it's unfiltered. I'm telling you what, Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy would have both got me. I'm just saying, because
said not all over me.
Well, that's true, Jeffrey Dahmer. Because he said, don't kill nobody with tattoos, because they taste bad.
I'm safe.
Their skin tastes bad. Where their tattoos were,
I've ceased to be.
I mean, it's a fact. You can look it up. He really said that.
I'm done.
He said, "Don't eat people with tattoos."
Done.
Yep.
They're drawing.
It's They're washable.
I'm done. Bye. Done.
All right. We're going to wrap this show up. We will talk about Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. We'll get into some of these serial killers on throughout too. I'm a serial killer fanatic, guys, so people think I'm a little nuts.
Done. I've ceased.
I'm crying.
All right, I'm crying. That's Ben into the windmill, and there's Paris, and we shall see you next time.
Bye.
Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Download if you're on Spotify. We love you all.
Ring the freaking bell.